Happy Thanksgiving, guys. I'm going to take a quick second here today to talk about gratitude, thankfulness, being grateful. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and always remember to give love, give thanks. No hate, no fear. Enjoy.
Good morning, Vietnam!
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
So before we get into this, I just want to put out a quick disclaimer. These thoughts and ideas that I feel and think work for me. They work so well for me. They might work well for you if you try them. If you don't agree with them, don't try them. Ipso facto, whatever. So in the past year, I have immensely increased my thoughts of gratitude and gratefulness. I've realized that gratitude and fear cannot coexist. They are literal opposites of each other. And whenever I've experienced someone being hurtful to me or me being hurtful to someone, it is directly associated with fear. For instance, fear of losing someone. Some people act out in a negative way. Some people are hurtful. And that is a direct result of fear. When you increase gratitude, fear just decreases because they cannot coexist. And I've done this very consciously over the past year of positive thinking. And some people call it, positive thinking bullshit. And the people who think that, I would say it is. But if you don't believe that it's bullshit, it really does work. So I want to take you guys through some exercises that I've done over the past year that have greatly improved my life. Now, when I'm saying to you, greatly improved my life, you're probably thinking, well, what's changed? What's improved? And the idea is, and what has improved in my life is general happiness. And I'm talking about waking up happy. Now, okay, I have bad days. I have days where I don't want to get out of bed. I have days where I'm just plain tired. But overall, I am a happier person because of this increased gratitude. And that happiness has me becoming more resourceful and acting from a more resourceful state. Meaning that when I come up against a challenge or an issue, something that on the surface may look like it won't work, or to everyone else and the general social norm, it's like, oh, that idea you're working on, that thought process you have is just not going to work. It wouldn't work for you. You have to have more experience. You have to have more time. You have to have more money. All these excuses. And because of this gratitude, I blow right through those thoughts, which are associated with fear, and I complete a lot of what I start because I am so grateful. So every night before I go to bed, I think about what I'm thankful for. Now, that does sound cheesy, and yes, at the beginning it works for you, and over time it will stop working for you unless you keep it fresh. And it's a general just laying down before, and it is literally, I fall asleep thinking about this stuff. It's just putting myself in a resourceful state. And I'll do this before I have something that's challenging as well, which is thinking back on a moment in time where I was extremely grateful. Now, there's obviously, for some people have not experienced that feeling, or they have and they've suppressed it. So I encourage you, if you're thinking, oh, I haven't felt gratitude, I haven't felt grateful for something, truly grateful. And I'm talking about that gratitude that washes over your body, where you're excited and you can do like 1,000-mile sprint and you can jump up and down. You feel like you can fly. That's the sort of gratitude that I'm talking about here today. And I've experienced it, and it took me a minute because generally you don't think about that every day. That gratitude will come to you on a holiday, like Christmas, or when you get a gift, or your birthday, or when you get the job you wanted. And those feelings will wash away and subside because we don't naturally bring ourselves to that place. So what I do is I think back to a certain moment in time, and one of the ones I've been using lately was my first paying performing gig that I got. I was in the gym and I was tired, and it had been like 3 weeks since I auditioned, so I'm down. I'm like, I didn't get it. It's not going to happen. And I get this phone call, and it's that feeling. And some of you who work in this field of performing will know exactly what I'm talking about. And those who don't, it's the same feeling when you get a gift, a really great gift that you thought you wouldn't get. It's this wonderful feeling that washes over your whole body. And I was going to like walk on the treadmill for 2 hours because I'm at the gym, and I ended up running 5 miles. Now that's really interesting, because before that phone call, I had the same amount of sleep, whether or not I was going to walk 2 miles or run 5 miles. I had eaten the same amount of food, whether I was going to walk 2 miles or run 5 miles. And it's literally the mental shift in my mind, because we have this thought, where does energy come from? Where does the drive inside of you to complete something really huge come from? Well, it doesn't come from sleep, because we all know if we get like more than 9 hours, we actually feel even worse because we've slept for too long. Some people might say food. Oh, I eat a lot of food. I eat the right amount of food. I get energy. But we both know today's Thanksgiving, and after you have that huge meal, you don't have a whole lot of energy to do anything. You want to sit on the couch. So it really comes from this mindset, this thought that I am extremely excited, grateful, thankful for what I have in my life. So I encourage you to do this. Just sit down, take a moment, and bring close your eyes, get in a comfortable position, seated, probably, because laying down you might fall asleep. And especially if the feeling's that good, you just kind of pass out. And if you can do it sitting up just once, take this moment. It's less than 5 minutes. Sit down and bring yourself back to a moment in time when you were extremely, extremely grateful. Because once you feel that emotion again, and you feel it so consciously that you won't forget it, and you can bring yourself back to that moment in time. Now, yes, those feelings can wear off over time, and you find another moment where you feel extremely grateful. Is this easy the first time? Maybe not exactly, but after a few times, it's literally like a muscle. You just keep working it out, and it gets easier. And it's just such a great feeling, because when you experience this fear, you can immediately turn that off. And this is the interesting thought, that humans, out of all species, can think a single thought and become pissed off, happy, excited, horny, any of those feelings just from a thought. You don't have to see or be with anyone. You can literally think it. For instance, like a dog that has a bone in its mouth or a stick and it's running around the yard. The dog that's happy in that moment running around the yard is not going to choose to think about something terrible and bring themselves back there. But how many times do we do that? We're having a perfectly fine day. We're having a perfectly fine life. And we think back to that time that one person screwed us over. And you can get yourself back to that moment like that instantly. You can do the same thing with gratitude. It's a choice. Now, as humans, the modern human brain is over 400,000 years old. I didn't study that, so I don't know the exact number, but it's many, 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 many years old. And that brain is not created for happiness. The brain is created. It's there for survival. That's the whole thing. That's why, like, for anyone who lives in New York City and the train pulls up and you see people like pushing and shoving to get on the train, it's surviving. They're surviving. They're pushing, sometimes like animals, to get onto that train, to get to work, because they're surviving. They're not thinking about happiness. They're not taking a moment, stepping back, being like, okay, I'll get on this train. I don't have to be silly and shove people all over the place. And generally, so this entire little short episode we're having here today is really to say that you can raise yourself to a higher level of consciousness. You can operate from a more conscientious place. And through having these conscious thoughts daily, and I know it's Thanksgiving, so we're talking about it here, but the day after Thanksgiving, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the rest of the year, you can literally choose to be grateful. And yeah, it is positive thinking, and it will keep you very positive. And honestly, being positive can be off-putting for people. Because how many times you walk up to someone, and you're like, oh, how are you doing today? How's everything? And they say, good, so far. What? It's like they're waiting for the day to screw them over because they're operating from survival, And that language in which you speak to yourself, the words that you use to communicate with yourself, some of them are terrible. I mean, some of the things I've said to myself in my brain, I would never in my right mind say to another human, because it can be crippling mentally. It can literally stop you in your tracks with that self-doubt and that fear. And you have to think about what's on the other side of fear. Nothing. It's literally nothing. Usually the fear of doing something is worse than the actual thing itself, which is a crazy thought to think. But if you do, you realize that. Like there was a period of time where I was, and I kid you not, fearful as all outdoors of shots, getting a shot. And I get myself worked up, and I'm telling you, like cold sweat, get myself to pass out fear. Created out of thin air. It feels the same way for everyone. It's the needle going into the arm thing. It's what it is. It's not incredibly painful. You're not losing a limb. You're not going through an excruciating nauseum amount of pain because your body was split in half. It's none of that. But I got myself even further than that. And I would literally break out into these cold sweats. And the way I got out of it was meditation. It was bringing myself. I would recognize when I was feeling this survival mode kick into all extremes, and I would slow my breathing down. I would relax, and I would think that it's really not that bad. And then, you know what? Funny, although me getting a gift on my birthday has nothing to do with me being afraid of a shot, I would think about that, and I would think about that level of gratefulness, excitedness, and it would, in a very strange way, change my mindset 150%. So I thoroughly encourage you to try this. And if it's not working, or if you have any questions, please reach out to me, entertainmentxpodcast@gmail.com, or on Instagram _entertainmentx_. So going back to that early morning situation where you go in, you say, how's your day going for them? They say, so far it's going all right. But if you walk up to someone and they say to you, how's your day going? And you say, oh, it's going extremely well. This is great. Try it. You usually will get a weird look, and the person will think like, oh my God, they're a lunatic. Why are they so excited? What are you talking about? It's freezing cold outside or something. We always have a reason to bring ourselves, quote unquote, back down to earth. And that word lunatic, that's like the word itself. I love this word because they would call people who thought about going to the moon lunatics, like get it? Lunatic. And guess what? We got there. So it's this crazy idea of just because you believe in something and no one else can see it or believe it doesn't mean that it's not true. If you can believe it, you can do it. And I thoroughly believe this. There is a great line in Remember the Titans, a wonderful movie to watch today, actually, on Thanksgiving. I might take a watch of it again. There's that moment where, and okay, spoiler alert, sorry, it's still a great movie, even though I'm about to say this. One of the guys in it becomes paralyzed, and everyone's like, I'm so sorry, you poor thing, I'm so sorry. And he says, in the hospital bed, he says, you know what they have for people who are paralyzed or crippled? He said they have the Olympics. And it's true. You can literally change your circumstance and your situation and all of it with a shift of the mind, because that's where it starts, with a shift of the mind. Because once you change your mind, you change your actions, which changes your destiny. So, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you stay extremely grateful and thankful for all the things that you have. Don't focus on what you don't have. It's not worth it. Make a plan and a series of lessons on how you're going to get to what you want, if you don't have what you want. But at the same time, staying extremely grateful for the things you do have can change your world. It's changed mine. And even as I speak to you right now about it, I'm getting extremely excited because it's that feeling of talking about it, of focusing on it. Literally, what you focus on, you find. Where you look, you find what you want. And not to make this, I don't mean to make this about the Bible or anything like that, but there is a reading in the Bible, is Matthew 7:7, which is seek and ye shall find. And it's so true. What you look for, you find. there was a story I heard about these Formula One race car drivers. And when you learn to drive a Formula One race car, you're driving at speeds of upwards of like 80 miles an hour, 100 miles. You're going very fast. And they train you at like 55 miles an hour. That's like the training. And you're in the driver's seat, and there's a trainer in the passenger seat, and there's 2 steering wheels. And the first thing they teach you to do is to recover from a spin out. Now, as I talk about this, you're going to realize it's a metaphor for life, if you haven't already, because we're talking about life. They teach you to recover from a spin out. And what they'll do is you're going to be driving along, no other cars out there on the racetrack, and they'll immediately, jolt the steering wheel like towards the wall to the right. And your first instinct is to look at where it's taking you. And that's what you do. You focus right at the wall, and then you hit the wall and you wipe out, because you're just driving that way. You're looking at it, you're focusing on it, and you hit it. So the first thing they teach you to do is when you're spinning out, to focus on where you want to go, not where you're headed. So the first time it happened, this guy was talking about it, he literally turns his head to the right and looks at the wall. The instructor doesn't even touch the steering wheel, puts his hand out, grabs the guy's chin, and shoves it to the left. And just like that, his head shoots to the left, and both his hands on the steering wheel to the left. And he recovers from the spin out and doesn't hit the wall. Because what you focus on, you hit, you go towards. And it's very subconscious, but it can mean the difference between life and death when you're racing a car. And I was like, oh my God, this is such an interesting perspective. Because when we're headed towards a bad thing, we tend to focus on the bad thing, and we let it fester, and we let it get worse. And then we think about how it could be even worse. And then we live in that worseness until it really, really wipes us out. But what you can do is just shift your focus to the left and focus away from whatever is bringing you down, and you can recover so much more quickly. And I, in turn, find out that my recovery happens quicker because of this gratitude and thankfulness. So I hope you enjoyed this rant today on Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And you'll find that the more thankful you are and the more grateful you are, that is deeply entrenched and associated with love. You end up giving more love because, and this is another interesting metaphor, when you're on that airplane and they teach you about those gas masks that come down, the air masks that come down to give you oxygen if the plane's going down, is to put your mask on first before you put the one on, to whoever else you're going to help or the person next to you. You always help yourself first before you help the other person, because if you don't help yourself, you can't help anyone else. If you're starving for oxygen, you can't possibly give oxygen to anyone else around you. So you have to take care of yourself first and practice this gratitude, because it'll in turn change to love. And it really won't even change. They're pretty much synonymous. They're like the same thing. You'll have more gratitude, you'll have more love, and in turn you can give it to the people around you. Because when you're so full of yourself in a great way, and a way full of gratitude, we're not talking about full of yourself out of the fear and out of the insecurity, so you're full of yourself. We're talking about that love that I can give to other people, and I can make someone else's life better because I'm full of love. Then you can make those lives around you so much better. So on this Thanksgiving, I encourage you to practice this gratitude and this thankfulness, and bring it up at the table. If you get to listen to this before dinner, bring it up and have people go around, see if anyone can remember. Because I was having this conversation with an older person, and he was saying to me that he couldn't necessarily remember the last time that he felt gratitude. And he knew that he had, and I knew that he had, but when you don't work a muscle out, it shrinks. So you have to work these muscles out, and you have to keep thinking of all the moments that you're grateful of, because those are the moments that count, and those are the moments that'll make your life so much better, and in turn make the lives of the people around you so much better. So have a very happy Thanksgiving full of love, gratitude, and thankfulness. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did talking about it. I feel so full of life after talking about this, and I hope you do too. And much like bathing, this does not last, so it's recommended daily. I thought that was clever. You have to practice it daily, otherwise it'll go away. So practice it daily, and it'll get easier, and it'll get bigger, and there'll be much more love to spread around. So thank you for listening. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.